Welcome, fellow Rotarians and guests. Bob Dell is not a stranger to our group. He's been out to speak with us a few times, and we're very encouraged with the work that he's doing. Bob spent, he was a graduate from Ryerson University in Toronto, and he spent time for 40 years in working for water and chemical treatment plants. And in 2001, after he went to visit Africa, he saw the big need for water treatment in that area, and he came back and he quit his job basically, sold his share of the business that he was in, and started to work on his water project. And since then, over 10 years, he's traveled to Africa 18 times, a couple times to Haiti, and Patty's got here that he was one time in DR, wherever DR is.
Dominican Republic.
Disaster recovery.
Okay. So there's your quiz for the morning. So Bob works closely with Rotarians across Canada, and in 2010 he received the Paul Harris Award. So without further ado, welcome Bob Dell.
For those of you that aren't aware, this club has been very supportive of our work, the work of the water school in Uganda, particularly in an area called Kumi, which is in the northeast part of Uganda. Very, very poor area, very high rates of dysentery, diarrhea, children dying, cholera outbreaks. But we started a program there through your club a couple of years ago, and it has grown. And I want to show you some of the results of that program today, just to see what kind of seeds that we planted in that community. Because now, with the initial work that we've been able to do with your funds, we've now seen it grown to other funding coming in to take that community to a much larger level. So I've titled my talk today, A Time of Transition and Thanks, and I'll explain that a little bit to you at the end of my talk. But let me just show you a few pictures of Kumi area and what's happening there and a little bit of a lesson here that the teaching that goes on in that community and all the communities that we're working with now, we call Clean Water for Life. It's simple, and then it's a three-part program that involves cleaning the water, making it clean by just putting it in plastic bottles, putting it out in the sun, using the ultraviolet rays of the sun to purify it. It's that simple. We've had this talk several times before, and it's not any more complicated than that, as many times as you have to explain it. But we also teach simple things like hand washing and basic sanitation, because all the problems that occur in these areas is from fecal contamination, whether they get it from the water, they get it from their hands, whether they don't contain fecal matter. So this is one of the schools in Kumi. They've actually put this painting right up on the wall of the school so that they don't forget how to do the program. And here's some of the boys in woodworking class making the tables for the school to put the bottles out on. And there's a young lady with the bottles at the school, and you can see they're all lined up there. Each one of these bottles, I don't see it there, but they'll have a code on the top of them, so they belong to a specific student, so that they don't cross-contaminate. Another young lady with her bottles. Some more. You can see the smiles. I'm going the right way here? No, it's going wrong. There we are. And there's a stash of bottles inside the school. They've got to the place now where they don't just drink one and then replace it. They actually build up an inventory of clean drinking water in the school so that they've got it available to them all the time. One of the problems we had before was that they had to leave the bottles out for 24 hours. So if they put them out during the day, they couldn't drink them the next morning. They had to wait. So now they build up the inventory. So when they get to school in the morning, they've got clean water to drink. Now, when we take it out into the communities, somebody said we build these tables with corrugate on them. That's great at the schools, so we do it for a reason. But in the communities, we get them to build their own tables. We don't really care how crude they are, and you can see they are crude. It doesn't really matter. This process works as long as you get the bottles out in the sun. Doesn't, the core gets great, but it really doesn't matter. It keeps the bottles from rolling off the tables when it does. So in the communities, they do this kind of thing. And the other thing that we learned is that a lot of them already were using racks to dry their dishes, which is a great concept. Not only dries them, but does disinfect them. So we have them now even doing multiple things like throwing the rack for the bottles and dishes underneath. So they get very, very creative when you teach the process. And here's a lady in her home with her bottles that she keeps inside. And then the other thing we teach is hand washing, and it's got, like the water purification, it's got to be simple. There are no taps, there are no facilities, so we have something called a tippy tap. And if you take a look at it, it's a plastic bottle on a little bit of a stand, and with a rope that goes down to a stick. And what they do is they step on that stick, which turns the bottle over, and they can wash their hands with the water flowing out in the top of the bottle. Great concept. The other thing we've done recently is, because it works better when you have soap, but then if they have to handle soap, they have to get bars of soap. So now what we do is we get soap, and they actually put the soap right inside the container, and so it's constantly giving sudsy water. So now when they step on that, they pour out, they get sudsy water, and they get the best hand washing that they can get. But it's that simple, very easy to maintain. The other thing that we teach is to use proper latrines. So there's a latrine, one type of latrine that they've built. And notice how clean the compound is around. This is the other thing that we see when this program develops, that things that were not clean before, when people understand cleanliness, whether it's washing hands, containing fecal matter, whatever, they actually clean up the compound. So we go in and the compounds are very, very clean. So there's a transition that takes place in those communities. So here's a few statistics for you in Kumi. We did our baseline study in November of 2010, and here's some kind of statistics. 37% of households have to walk an hour or more to the water source. So that's 2+ hours a day out of the day that the women and the children go and get water. 37% of households, 77% of them drink untreated water. So that's water that is laden with fecal matter. And 33%, or 1/3 of them, only have hand washing facilities. So the program started in January 2011, and what we do after that initial baseline study, 1 year later, we do an impact study. And that's going on right now, and we haven't got the results of that. But I can tell you the last impact study that we did in Kisoro, again, at the extreme opposite corner, southwest, we had an improvement in the schools as monitored by the clinics of up to 77% reduction in dysentery and diarrhea for the kids. We had some schools that had up to a 25% increase in school attendance in the children. So we're looking for similar kind of statistics there, but there's 15 village health monitoring teams. I was talking to Lynn Bloomis a few moments ago. She's doing some work in Sudan. This program only works if you've got community engagement, people in the communities that take it and empower themselves. So the villages themselves monitor the program, teach the program. We've got over 1,000 households trained to date in that area. 5 primary schools with 4,093 children, and 5 more planned. So that's the program as it stands right now with your initial investment. What are the observations? Well, again, we don't have the statistics, but here's the observations we've made in that program. Enthusiastic acceptance by the community. These people really like the program and want to make it go. Households are making their own racks for bottles, so they've taken the program on themselves. Improved health and school attendance has been documented by the clinics. We don't have the exact statistic yet, but they know that they're seeing improvement. And here's a really neat one, because it's a high cholera area. The people that have been trained and taught that we haven't had one report of cholera since we started the program, and that was a regular thing in that area, year after year. So that's kind of where it's at. So I think what I want to do for my next couple minutes is say, thank you, Rotary.
Oh, you're welcome.
Time of transition. And if you go to our website, if you go to the Water School website, you'll see a note on there from Fraser, my partner, and myself. About a year ago, we told the board that we really, I mean, it was coming up to 10 years that we've been doing this. And he's an old guy like me, and you know what? I was talking to Jerry a few minutes ago. You do start to get tired as you get a little bit older. And the other thing is your health. And so Fraser and I had let the board know that by this spring, and I reached my 70th birthday, and he was not far behind me, we were going to step down. And so the board was trying to do some things to work with that. Then I went to DR, Dominican Republic, in August of last year. And for all the years I've been doing this, I managed to finally pick up A-Bud. And I came back, and I was going with my wife to Boston a couple of weeks later, and we were getting ready to go the next morning, and I got that old feeling I know that you get when you got something. And so I got a hold of my doctor and got some Cipro and went to Boston and managed to get rid of it, I thought. Came back, and about 2 weeks later, it really started to hit me. So I have to tell you, I've gone through 5 months of not a lot of fun. And only with the good help of my friends at MedPoint, where I go and faithfully work out and do things, and a very good doctor there, Dr. Murchison, have I been able to get back on track and get to see some good specialists and work on the issues. But I was going through 24/7 nausea and headache for probably 3-4 months. So I guess the first thing I want to tell you is appreciate your good health. It's precious. And I thought I had it up until a few months ago. And I'm certainly glad that I'm getting it back now. But we never know. You just never know when that's going to happen. So through that period of time that this was going on, the board was working hard to get us out of water school. A major donor group, private donor group, stepped up to the plate and said that they would fund the Africa work completely for the next 3 years. And that was too good a chance for Fraser and I to miss. They put the volunteers in place, they were gonna fund it, they were gonna do the work. And so we had our guarantee now that for the next 3 years, the seeds that you guys have planted there are now gonna grow for 3 years guaranteed. It was too good. So we put our resignations in. I stepped down in December, and Fraser stepped down at the end of January. Water School is in great shape. We've left it in good hands. Now, Fraser.
Okay, well, Bob, it's my privilege to thank you for coming out today on behalf of the Rotary Club of London South. I know it's something that you're passionate about, and you've certainly been open and sharing it with us, and I'm sure with many others around the community and around the world for that matter. So we want to thank you for coming out, and I can't think of a better way to thank you than. So on behalf of the Rotary Club of London South, in opening so many people's eyes, we donate to an organization called Operation Eyesight. So we have funded eyesight restoration for a 65-year-old woman named Chessa, and we want to